I'm Rachel Crowe, and I wanted to make a video and talk about mystery school, my 13 Moons Wise Woman Medicine Woman mystery school. What is a mystery school? What was a mystery school? I mean, we kind of have this idea that back in ancient times there were these temples where the priestesses went and the priests went, and they had different trainings, and I can only speak from my own sense. Some of it feels like past life memories, some of it is things I've read in books, or just my own feeling of what those mystery schools would have been. But I think if you had shown some kind of a esoteric talent as a child, you may have been picked to go to the temple. So, and there will have been different temples for all kinds of things. I've been reading, can't remember the name of the book, but it's like the Bible of Mary, and it was talking about how she was chosen as a young child to go into the temple because of her reverence, because of her praying, and how she could manifest manna from heaven and sustenance, and obviously she was being chosen to be the vessel that Jesus came through. But in that book it talks about the temple very much being the patriarchal temple, the male temple, where she was allowed to go because she had this special gift. Now, I think there would have been temples, temples of Isis, definitely, goddess temples, where you would have gone to have your initiations. So, for me, my vision of these temples is that, you would have learned so many things in these temples. It would have been, like our modern day nunnery. It's like all these women together and the elders teaching the younger ones, and as the younger ones got older they would be teaching each other. But it would be about learning, a bit like we go to school, learning so many things, and then you decide, or you are trained in what your gift is. You continue that study in whatever your calling is. So, you might be chosen for the temple because it's just seen that you have an amazing gift for talking to nature or animals or plants, or maybe you're an amazing singer or a beautiful dancer, or a channel, an oracle where visions come through, and those talents would be honed in the temple. But you would also be taught all these other tools and skills. And these days we're living in the 21st century where, as far as I know, unless you want to join a nunnery, they don't exist. I meet so many women who have this in their bones, and they're trying to create their temples in their homes or in their gardens or in their women's spaces, and that's how we're doing it, because we've become mothers, and we've become part of the system that means we have to go to work to earn enough money to pay the bills, Where do we come together in these beautiful sacred practices? So, for me, this Wise Woman, Medicine Woman, 13 Moons, year-long journey is the best that I can come up with to create this, temple space for the women to gather and to share some of these skills. And obviously I can only share what I know, and, you can't possibly have all of there's a whole list, which I will read in a minute, of what I dreamed that you would be taught in a mystery school. I'm not an expert in all of them because I followed my calling and my gift, but I know little bits, and I can point people in the direction of teachers or people who know more than me. And as a collective, we bring that collective knowledge together of those women in the group who perhaps have a gift in something, and I can call that in, and together we're just weaving this basket of beauty, and creating our own mystery school, our own community of divine priestesses, if you want to be called that, or witches. Some people prefer that term, or goddesses on earth angels, whatever term you like to call yourself. It's like coming together with like-minded women to dive into these beautiful divine feminine esoteric teachings. So I did, when I was pondering what is a mystery school, what would a mystery school have been. So for me, all the things you would learn, you know, it would be communing with the plants and learning about the herbs and learning about the medicinal properties. It would be healing, maybe using crystals or body work or massage or energy healing, you know, something like Reiki. You know, just some people are just natural, they have this flow of energy coming through them and they can heal people, and we've had to force it into boxes so that you can get a certificate and ticket, you know. It's like there's so many different healings out there, healing modalities that, you know, we carry. I mean, there's angelic Reiki and there's unicorn Reiki and there's all these different things, but, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, just a place where all these things would have been taught. So a perfumery where the anointing oils are made, so anointing for mummification or for preserving, but also for just sensuality and honouring one another, parts of ceremony and rites. So you would have learned about the stars and the planets, astrology, astronomy, all of those things, so we know our place within this cosmos, you know, and we're learning so much more about that all the time. So midwifing, midwives of the soul, so whether that's being a birth doula or a death doula, you know, it's kind of holding that, both of those energies coming in and going out, and also learning about the deep women's work, the blood mysteries and conscious conception, and, you know, the power of our cycle, you know, all of those kind of come under that heading, I think, of like midwives of the soul. And of course there's the seers and the oracles, the ones that could see into the future or could read the symbols and the signs, or, you know, maybe they were doing divination and using a scrying bowl, or, you know, pendulum, finding water with dowsing rods, or, you know, just runes, or, you know, all these kind of things, all of that, those the symbols, seeing the symbols, or, you know, being in tune with the energy codes that are coming through. And then we have, of course, the sacred tantric practices, the yogic practices, the breath work, the eros gamos, you know, it's like coming into union with another, you know, being taught all of those kind of practices, amazing sacred tantric practices, because, you know, I believe in the past that, you know, it would be the priestesses of the temple that would be creating these rites, and often they were married to the king or married in a ceremony, temple ceremony, that may not have been acknowledged, you know, certainly in Christian times, but these, you know, Hieros Gamos would have gone on behind closed doors. It would have been a real marriage to the earth, celebrating those, you know, like the Beltane fires and fertility rites and all those kind of things that got pushed down and pushed down and pushed out. So, you know, a king may have on one side, you know, looked to the public as being a good Christian man, but actually, you know, there would have been these temple ceremonies going on, and there are still things like that going on, but certainly on more of a dark side. So I'm all about the light. We're coming back to the light, back to the light. Dance, you know, you must have seen, you know, these beautiful Indian dances where every dance has hand symbols and hand gestures, and so the women of the priestesses of the temple would have had these sacred dances that would have come out for enjoyment, but also for ceremonies, for rites, for, you know, smaller ceremonies within their temples, but also wider ceremonies where public would have been invited in. And of course, from the dance, of course, you know, in comes the music, so there would have been women who were amazing musicians, drummers, rattles, you know, in the olden times they had the sistrums, which are a bit more like a tambourine, flute playing, harp playing, you know, and also from that, you know, we have the craftswomen, the women who made those instruments, the women who made the beautiful clothes, embodying those clothes, imbuing those clothes with sacred energies, or weaving the baskets that held the herbs, you know, everything done with such sacredness and intention. You know, you can weave your prayers into a basket that's going to be holding a newborn baby. You know, it's kind of like, you know, I just feel like my imagination can soar with all of this. And then, you know, there's things like, there would have been animal charmers, animal whisperers, weather whisperers, you know, those that could read the weather and almost manipulate the weather, you know, and I'm sure there's so many more. I can't even can go on and on. The tree whisperers, the earth whisperers, those that, you know, could track and know where the plants were coming up, and and yeah, on and on and on and on. And within all of these, there would have been initiations at each level, and eventually you would have just followed the path of what your gift was. And whether then you went out into the world with your gift, or whether you stayed in the temple and you taught others, or you stayed in the temple and practiced. If you were a seer or an oracle, maybe you would be visited at the temple by the general public. So it's like, how do we relate that to today's society? And of course, we're seeing it more and more, people coming up with the gifts. And actually, for women, having gone through the burning times, that psychic in our psyche, when if you stood up as any of these things, herbalist, a midwife, a psychic, you would have been burnt at the stake. So we have to drop that energy and come into a place of knowing we are safe, and that we can stand up in the world with our gift in whatever way it is. It doesn't have to be being completely public, doing online readings or anything. It could be something that you do very quietly and very privately by yourself, or not. We're all different. We all have our unique gifts to share, and for some people it is literally being someone who just holds the light, and that's it. They don't have to run a course on it, they don't have to share it in any way. It's just about anchoring. Their job is to anchor the light into the planet, and they know that when they're around people, their energy affects people in a positive way. For some people that's it. And I think actually for more and more people that's it. It's like, we don't have to be these big superstar priestesses or whatever. It's kind of like we can just quietly get on with what we're doing, which is kind of what we're doing in the 13 moons, in our temple space. We're just quietly creating prayers, reading oracles, making ceremony, drumming and singing, raising the vibration of the world, just in a very beautiful way, creating sisterhood, anointing one another, seeing one another in our power. So, if any of this stuff is calling to you, I can't promise we'll be doing everything on this list, but we definitely will be touching into some of it. So you'll be most welcome. I would love to have you in the circle, whether it's the online circle, which is obviously a bit different from the in-person circle, but you will be welcome, welcome, welcome.